So this week, the MLB, I guess it was the Baseball Writers Association, announced the Hall of Fame for the MLB, and two people got elected this year, and I thoroughly enjoyed watching both of them when I was younger and they were still in the league. It was Ken Griffey and Mike Piazza were elected, and what's really interesting is that Ken Griffey broke the record per percentage of votes, and he got 99.3%. Only 3 people didn't vote for him, and that's insane because the last one was it was Nolan Ryan and it was 98.9, I believe. That's just crazy to think that these guys are near unanimous Hall of Famers, but they're not actual, and they're when I think of Nolan Ryan, I think of the 9 perfect games he threw, or 9 no-hitters and perfect games, whatever it was. I just think of him being the most dominant pitcher of all time, and then Ken Griffey is the most energetic young dude who hit 600 home runs, and that's just crazy to me. But speaking on Mike Piazza, he had 83% of the vote as well, so he got in. What's needed for the election is 75%. And just missing out on the cut was Jeff Bagwell with 71, Tim Raines at 69, and Trevor Hoffman at 67. And then there's Schilling, Clemens, Barry Bonds, and Edgar Martinez at 53 or below. So I think that those voting results kind of show that they're not really ready to accept the steroids in the Hall yet. And I'm going to be really interested to see what happens over the next coming years, because I know I'm going to talk about this in a little bit, but some people got voted off too. But staying on with Mike Piazza, an interesting fact was he was the lowest drafted player in the Hall of Fame. He was drafted in the 62nd round, 1,390th overall by the Dodgers in 1988. He was a 12-time All-Star as well. And that just blows my mind that he's a 62nd round pick and he's in the Hall of Fame now. That's amazing for these guys to be able to go into the Hall of Fame. And at being a 62nd round pick and going in, that's just a mind-boggling. And Piazza's one of the best hitting power catchers that I know of. At least when I think of power hitting people, catchers and stuff, I think of him, Pudge Rodriguez, and then that's really about it. At least from my era. I mean, there's obviously guys like Johnny Bench and I can't even think of anyone else. Honestly, I don't really follow the old sports that much, but I know Piazza, he hit 308 in the league at 307 or 377 on base, that'd be on base, and then 544 slugging. That's really good. And then he had over 2,000 hits, 427 home runs, 1,335 RBIs, 12-time All-Star, like I said, and ranks first among all catchers in home runs, slugging, and OPS plus, which I don't know all the sabermetric stuff. I'm just going to leave that alone. And he played a majority of his 16-year career with the Dodgers and the Mets. So he played 16 years with just 2 teams. That's insane. And I think when I was looking at some more different kind of stats for this, he was he was walked 759 times, 146 of those intentionally. That just kind of shows what kind of respect he gets from most of these pitchers, like Clemens, and then I think he was at the tail end of Nolan Ryan and a couple of these younger guys like Roy Halladay and the guys that were in his era. They just respected him that much that they didn't even want to pitch to him. But like I said earlier, he's not really he's not known for his defensive prowess, but he did earn 10 Gold Gloves, which is pretty impressive. But he also had 124 errors, which is in the top 5 catchers all time. And he caught 423 people stealing, but only had a 23% caught stealing rate. So take that with a grain of salt. That's not really good. I mean, it's almost a fourth of the guys he throws out, but about the average now is about 30, 35. So he's a little bit below average. But he still earned 10 Gold Gloves, and as well as the 93 Rookie of the Year. So I think that's still impressive, and he really deserves it, especially for being the offensive powerhouse that he was. He really could place the ball wherever he wanted off the bat. He could do about anything. Batting-wise, didn't have to hit for home runs or anything, but he did. And I think Mike Piazza is just he's a great, I guess, ambassador for the game. everyone knows him. He's really like outgoing. He's a nice guy from what I know, and he's just like a great guy for the game. So, and same with Ken Griffey Jr. Talking about Griffey, I'm gonna throw out a couple stats here. He had 630 home runs, 1,836 stolen bases, and only caught 69 times. He had 8 seasons of over 300 batting average, which is with his highest being a 327. Plus, he was walked 246 times. I mean, staying on the batting average, you have 8 seasons hitting over 300. That's insane. And like most of them they weren't like 301 or 302. There's like 2 308s in there, but most of them were like 316, 320, 327, which was his highest, and 324 and all that stuff. And then he just garnered respect from all these pitchers, where he had 246 intentional walks. That's crazy. And then he also ended up with almost 3,000 hits, 2,781, which ranks 50th currently. And in the field, like I think he's a great hitter. Everyone knows he's a great hitter. He almost had 700 home runs. When you think of Ken Griffey, you just think of him being a home run king. I think he was the MLB home run leader like 4 times, hitting almost 50 each time. And he garnered 7 Silver Sluggers, which is super impressive. And then in '97, he even got an MVP for his ability to hit and defensive ability. He's just one of the best players I've ever seen. I mean, like, I wasn't around when like Nolan Ryan and all those guys were, but Griffey knows what he's doing. He's one of the best guys in the league. And especially talking about like what awards he got, he had the 2005 Comeback Player of the Year, because I think he got hurt in 2004 and got traded to the Reds, I think. That sounds right. Or maybe he was still on the Reds. I remember in 2004 he was on the Reds, and same with the 05. Because that was like his prime years before when he was like in the middle of his prime, when he was really young and energetic. He was on the Mariners, then to the Reds, and then back to he played a year on the White Sox, and then 2 back to the Mariners. But he's always been a good fielding hitter, or a good fielder too, as well as hitter. He had 89 errors and a 985 fielding percentage. That's insane. Like, only having 89 errors, that's obviously he's an outfielder, so he didn't have a lot of opportunities to make an error outside of probably throws and missing a diving catch, but he never really missed any of those. I think most of those errors are throwing, but it didn't really break it down at all. And with that 985 fielding percentage, obviously comes some hardware. He got 10 Gold Gloves in his career. That's just That's just mind-boggling to me. But that's all I can say. I think those two are really, really great assets to the Hall of Fame. They're really deserving of it. I think next couple of years are going to be really interesting. And I'm going to talk about, just real quickly, who missed the cut. So I already said everyone up. I said Bagwell, Raines, Hoffman, Kurt Schilling, Roger Clemens, Barry Bonds, Edgar Martinez, Mike Mussina missed it, Adam Trammell, Lee Smith, Fred McGriff, Jeff Kent, Larry Walker, who is a former Rocky, which I hope he gets in there, but I don't know what the chances are of him getting in there, but he got 15% this year, so that's kind of promising. Mark McGwire, he got 12%. Sheffield got 11 with his wacky stance and all that. Billy Wagner got 10%. And then this is where we're kind of getting near the bottom. Like, I think it's 5%. You have to get 5% of the votes to stay on. And what's interesting right here is Sosa only got 7% this year. So I think that might kind of show that no one really thinks he should be in there, be in the Hall, just because of his admittance to the steroids and all that stuff. But I guess we'll see what happens in the future years. So to keep going here, I got Jim Edmonds. These are the guys that missed the cut, by the way. Got Jim Edmonds at 2.5%, who really should be in the Hall. He's a really upstanding guy. Nomar Garcia-Parra at 1.8. Sweeney at 0.7. Eckstein at 0.5. Kendall at 0.5. Garrett Anderson at 0.2. And then all these guys didn't even get votes I'm gonna name off here: Brad Ausmus, who's the current Tigers manager; Luis Castillo, Troy Glass, Mark Grudzlanek, Mike Hampton, and Mike Lowell, and Randy Wynn. So I think the Hall got it right this year. It's gonna be interesting to see what happens next year with the for new first ballots and what they're gonna do. I don't think there's gonna be two guys that are gonna come really close to breaking Ken Griffey's record, and that's going to be Jeter and Rivera. I think if Harper and Trout eventually just keep staying on this pace where they're hitting about 300, 350, getting MVPs every other year kind of thing, just like insanely good numbers, I think they might break it. But currently I think Jeter and Rivera are the only ones that are really close to it.